In this moment, Frieren's eyes belong to someone who isn't Frieren. At least, not the one we know. See, Frieren Beyond Journey's End is about a laid-back and relatively carefree elf. Someone who wouldn't mind spending a decade catching up with an old friend, or who thinks visiting often might be once every 50 years. Frieren at her core is not someone who acts with urgency. That's what makes this moment so powerful, and why it was maybe the most impactful scene in the show for me. By episode 7, you usually have a pretty good idea of what a show is like, but Frieren is deceptive, and in more ways than one. So let's take a look at how the first few episodes of this anime distort our perception of who Frieren really is, and how that shifts after this moment. Frieren mostly thinks of herself and her own interests, which mostly boil down to traveling and collecting spells. Her long lifespan makes her rather indifferent towards much of what she experiences otherwise. But after the death of Himmel the hero, she makes a profound effort to begin understanding the lives of other people. We see this right away when she comes back after 20 years to visit Heiter and gets tricked into spending like 5 years deciphering his pointless tome. But Frieren isn't upset when she learns that he just wanted her to stick around for long enough to train Fern as a proper mage. In fact, as Heiter pleads with Frieren to take Fern and go so she doesn't also have to witness his death, Frieren's only concern is for Heiter to spend his remaining days making memories with Fern. It's an emotional first glimpse of how Frieren values life now, as she decides to stay with the two of them until Heiter passes. This early interaction reveals Frieren's slow burn approach to her decision-making and lack of urgency in everything that she does. But what I think is even more interesting is how this manifests when Frieren handles returning to the area where Qual is sealed. We learn that Qual was a demon among demons, so powerful that Frieren was forced to seal him away because her party was unable to defeat him, his signature spell Zoltrak having been the cause of 70% of mage deaths in the area during his time. They arrive at where Qual is, and Frieren remarks that the seal she's put on him has become rather unstable. You would think this may be cause for some alarm, but faced with having to battle him again, she decides to wait until the next day. This isn't to prepare some powerful incantation or gather supplies that they'll need to defeat him. Frieren waits because she feels like it. It's only been 80 years, what's one more day? But the magic of this fight is the way in which the fight and magic itself are made to look so mundane. Frieren puts Fern in considerable danger, not only by bringing her near Qual, but also when she tells Fern to handle defending the two of them. The gap in experience between Qual and Fern is seemingly given no special care or attention, and ultimately, Frieren carries out Qual's execution with nothing but calm and confidence. Their fight marks the first real battle and serious use of magic in the show. After everything that had been said about Qual, the tone of events never deviated from what we've come to be familiar with so far. When I first watched this, I was amazed at how everything just felt so casual, especially how Qual's massive blast of Zoltrak didn't even get a second mention when the dust settled. Frieren simply saw the opportunity it gave her to fly up unnoticed, fire off a blast of her own, and off they went again. Their journey before and after Qual being just as relaxed as Frieren was during that fight. But Frieren doesn't just spend her and Fern's time doing what she wants. She spends just as much time pursuing things that she isn't even sure she's interested in. From searching for 6 months for her desire to find blue moon weed to surround an old statue of Himmel, to spending close to another 6 months in preparation to view a sunrise that she already knows probably won't be worth getting up early for. When the New Year's festival finally comes after the two of them have spent all that time cleaning up broken ships from the water, it's exactly as uninteresting to her as she had expected. Even her own journey of retracing the steps she took almost 80 years ago is something she can't say for sure whether or not is truly important to her. Frieren seemingly lives in a perpetual state of laid-back curiosity. At this point, I was ready to sit back and relax myself, to see this post-Demon King journey unravel as slowly as it desired. That was until episode 7. Until this point, we've known little of what Frieren experienced during her journey with the party of heroes, or what kind of encounters they faced during that time. The focus of the show explicitly being on the present day, with only fragments of information about the demons of the world. After picking up Stark and traveling through a few more locations, the group comes to a heavily guarded town. Everything is proceeding smoothly. Then Frieren suddenly stops, drawing her staff in the middle of town. This moment is short-lived, but the impact it has can't be overstated. The calm and often silly Frieren we've come to know has vanished, and in her place stands a figure with this incredible, intense gaze, ready to kill what comes around the corner without a second thought or any remorse in doing so. All of those moments of her appreciating and learning about those around her are swept aside quicker than anything we've seen from Frieren before. Even during the fight with Qual, she took her time talking to him and giving Qual a rundown of what changed in the past 80 years. The decision she's made here runs counter to everything we've seen and known about her up until this point. After a brief talk with the demon in front of her, this seems to be the end of it. Frieren is taken to the dungeon and locked away for her brazen display of aggression, and everything, including her, returns to normal. Her casual request for Fern and Stark to bring her grimoires, a clear sign of that. But the shift isn't over yet. A harrowing tale from Frieren's past makes her words from earlier more than clear. Demons are wild beasts who imitate human speech, but cannot be communicated with. We're finally given a real moment of insight into what may have prompted her unexpected reaction from earlier. When it comes to demons, Frieren understands that there's nothing more to understand. Those same eyes make a return when Drop makes his way to her cell, and after a brief exchange, we're hit with the greatest trick Frieren has ever pulled. Normally, I prefer it when an anime doesn't deviate much in its translation of things, but I have never been more excited to continue watching a show than when I saw these words. Frieren the Slayer. She slew more demons than anyone else in history. And if you've been paying attention, you'll notice something here. The English name of the show is just a smokescreen and gives an entirely different impression than the Japanese title, and it was hiding in plain sight the entire time. Nothing about Frieren has changed, but at the same time, everything has. Until now, Frieren was just a wanderer, with a seemingly unhealthy obsession for collecting spells. She's a caring mentor who wishes to understand and know her apprentice. Her selfish desires often end up helping others as much as herself, and she takes care not to abuse or draw much attention to her status as a true hero in this world, even if she still occasionally uses it to her benefit. This is the elf we've come to be familiar with, but like many savage demons who destroyed villages and killed without mercy, for them, Frieren is an entity of unfathomable terror.